What's going on, guys? It's Cimo. So today I'm bringing to you my Hand Trap Orcust deck profile that I piloted at the North American NAWCQ this past weekend. I apologize this took so long to get out. I just got back from that trip, but I wanted to make sure I brought you guys this deck profile to kind of look at it in retrospect, what worked and what didn't. But a lot of you guys were curious when you were asking me about this deck, how it worked. So I want to make sure I brought you guys that profile. First and foremost, though, big shout outs to each and every one of you guys, for every person that I met at the event, for every person's card that I signed, or every person that I took a picture with. It was an absolute pleasure meeting each and every one of you. The WCQ is my favorite event of the year, and you guys never disappoint. So big shout outs to you. And if you're looking for your next great event to go attend to, the Pro Play Games Tour in Richmond will be coming up July 12th and 13th. So only a couple weeks from now, and it's going to be one hell of a time. $2,000 prize pool. I'm going to be doing live commentary, and you should definitely attend if you're in the area. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. So how does Hand Trap Orcust essentially work? Well, the theory behind this deck is essentially to play it like how you would play Salamangreat, except the difference is you're playing the Orcust cards, which when you have a card like Dingirsu, I feel like it's a lot stronger than something like Sunlight Wolf, just because it can offer protection to your board. It has a much more stronger recurable engine. It's just a bigger body, and it's interesting because if you get stopped, you can just hand trap your opponent on the following turn, but I'll go ahead and explain more of that as we get into the deck profile. So to start off with, we have the main Orcust engine component. So we have two copies of Harpor. This is embarrassing, but one of them was I was borrowing from a friend, so I really only have one copy, but shout outs to Hunter for letting me borrow that other one. Two copies of Orcust Nightmare, one Symbol Skeleton, and one Wand. This is all you need. I was playing 3 Harp for a very long time, but this is only a 40 card list. The reason I wanted to play 40 cards was that so people did not realize I was playing Orcust, so they wouldn't be inclined to blind Dweller me. Most of the Orcust builds are playing over 40, so if you ask your opponent how many cards are in their deck before the game even starts, having that information could reveal that I were playing either Orcust or Danger Thunder if I had a higher than 40 count. So it was very important for me to play 40, and the third Harp was the last card that I cut. Didn't miss it too much. I mean, honestly, it's really just there as the discard fodder to help you play around hand traps, but I felt like it was less important because I had a lot more defensive options in a build like this. But this is very standard, nothing else that really needs to be said there. Then we went ahead with the Scrap Recycler engine. So 3 copies of Scrap Recycler and 1 copy of Mecha Phantom Beast Alliance. So basically, this is the 2-card, or rather the 1-card combo that gets you to 2 monsters to go through your entire Orcust field. So what you do is you summon Scrap Recycler, send a line, then you have 2 monsters because a line when it hits the graveyard makes a token. Then you go into your Phoenix or Cerberus, so on and so on. Now, one of the big differentiators here is that Scrap Recycler can send any machine. So being able to send something like your Wand or your Harp is insane, because if you have another extender, you're then able to send Harp every single time, meaning you could basically play through almost every hand trap, and that is very, very strong. Scrap Recycler was very strong in theory, but I kept drawing this Olion, and I was really ruining it because I wanted Recycler to be that 1-card combo, and when you draw the Olion, I mean, yeah, you could get it out of your hand in certain ways, but then it doesn't really do a whole lot. So unfortunately, in theory, this card works amazing, but I don't think I played enough extenders to kind of facilitate going past the Olion ending up in my hand as that brick. Next up for the Trick Stars, because you know it's me, so we have to play Trick Stars. We have 1 Candina and 1 Korribane. This is all you need. Most of the time you're searching Korribane, just so you can just normal Korribane. Then you can summon something like Recycler, send the Harp, and now you have your combo with Harp and Grave, so now you can play through basically any hand trap. You do search Candina though if you absolutely have to, and then it's still a 1-card combo regardless. You don't want to cut either of those. And honestly, you play them because Light Stage is one of the strongest cards in this current format. Now we get to the hand traps, and there's a lot of them. So we played 12. I was playing 13, but actually cut it down to 12 at the very end. So we have 3 copies of Phantasme, we have 3 copies of Ash, 3 copies of Effect Veiler, and then for the last set, we have 3 copies of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. So what I want to do is I'm actually going to go ahead and lay each of these out just so I can talk about them for a little bit. So again, the theory behind this deck is rather than playing cards like the Phantom Knight card, so a lot of Orcust builds play the Phantom Knights, I was not playing the Phantom Knights because those cards are actually bricks if you do end up drawing them. One of the reasons why the Phantom Knights are so strong in the OCG is because they have Salamangreat Almirage, and Almirage is good because if you draw the boots or the cloak, it's still a one-card combo because you can just link off into Almirage, banish your Phantom Knight, search your Shade Brigadine, and then you have another monster, and then you can full combo. We don't have Almirage, we will once Battles of Legend comes out, but the thing is, I wanted to have as few bricks as possible, and the other thing is with the hand traps, since Twitchstar Lightstage is such a powerful card in this format, if you have your set Fog Blades or your Crescendo, the problem is since all the other decks are playing Lightstage, they can just freeze it because they know where that card is going to be. There's not too much you can do about it. So the thing is, these cards did not lose to a card like Lightstage, and they give you the option that, let's say your Orcust combo gets stopped, what you're going to end up doing is you're going to have like 2 or 3 of these hand traps in your hand, so that way they have to play through your hand traps, and even if they don't, then you can just Orcust combo them again on the next turn and hopefully kill them. So that was the theory behind the deck, and each of these hand traps plays a specific role. Phantasme is good because it's the best one against Sky Striker, but also because it helps fix your hand to generate you a +1. And the thing is, going against the combo decks like Orcust and like Danger Thunder Dragon just is crazy because of the amount of advantage you can generate if you don't have hand traps, and I did not feel safe not playing hand traps. So basically I wanted to have as many cards as possible to help slow that deck down, and then I can hopefully Borrelsword OTK them on my turn because they don't play any hand traps whatsoever. Playing through 1 or 2 negates isn't too difficult with this deck, but when they have the ultimate board, it's pretty much near impossible. So Phantasme was useful for just cycling cards, also good for seeing my side deck cards as well, because you get to just sift through, dig through your deck, and get what you look for in games 2 and 3. Ash Blossom is just the universally best one. It can stop cards that other cards really can't, and so I wanted Ash Blossom to definitely be maximized. Valor's really good because it can be used multiple times in a turn. You can draw it off Phantasme and it's still really strong. It doesn't really conflict too much there. Valor is just the next best. And then Ogre is actually surprisingly effective against a lot of matchups. Against Striker, you can hit stuff like multi-roll. Against Danger Thunder, you can hit Elpie, which is surprisingly effective. Against Orcust, it's kind of like so-so. Salamangreat, it's not bad if you hit something prior to them getting the Balinks in the graveyard, but it can also force Balinks out so that in your following turn, you can disrupt them and basically make it so that they don't have a Balinks for when you want to destroy stuff on your turn. The cards were actually all pretty good. This was the lineup I decided on, and it actually worked fairly well. Now, that's it for the monsters. Moving on to the spells, we have 3 copies of Light Stage, and to complement that, 2 copies of Terraforming. Again, we just want to see our 1-card starters as much as possible, and Light Stage is obviously one of the best ones. Now, this is going to be a little bit weird, but we played 1 copy of Engage and 1 Hornet Drones. Now, the reason for this, I was just playing Hornet Drones by itself and no Engage, and the thing is, this engine's very powerful because it gets 2 monsters on the field without committing to your normal summon. Thing is, though, I was wanting to just like have another 1-card starter to up my ratio of opening 1 a little bit more percentage wise, and there's really no other card I can include. I was thinking about like Jet Synchron at one point, but then you have to commit a monster to the extra deck, so that wastes that slot. So I just thought to myself, I'm just gonna go ahead and play 1 copy of Engage, because one of the problems is if you're playing 3 Engage, 1 Hornet, if you open that, then the Engages become dead, and then they're just basically doing nothing. I guess you could supposedly play Ego Booster, but not playing Ego Booster is a completely different story in its own right. So the thing is, I kind of felt good with this because it's like, if I draw the 1 Engage, I'll get to Hornet and they're out of my deck, and I'm not going to see any more dead cards. So it's really weird to see a ratio like that, but I was actually really happy with it because I never bricked on those cards once. Where in testing, because this deck went through like 7,000 iterations, we would sometimes draw like multiple Engages and they would just be like discard fodder, which I guess isn't like the worst thing in the world, but I'd rather it be a useful card to help me either set up my own board or help break my opponents. So then we have 1 copy of Foolish Burial as an extender. This basically just allows you to send Harp. You can send basically anything for whatever situation, whatever the situation calls for. So really solid card. This would have been a 3rd Harp, but honestly I just figured Foolish Burial is a little bit more flexible than the 3rd Harp because it can be Harp, but it can also be like Wand or whatever card I'm missing in any particular instance. Then we played 3 copies of Instant Fusion. This is like the God card, and the reason I say that is because this is what helps you play under Lancia. So pretty much how it goes is, if you get Lancia, but you have instant fusion, you can still set up Galatea with Dingirsu, and then you can also just instant fusion summon Winda, and then going up against your opponent, basically they can't special summon. They're not going to out that Winda most likely unless they're playing Sky Striker, but then you're not going to make Winda in the first place. So against Salamangreat, Orcust, and Danger Thunder, it's almost near impossible for them to out a Winda protected by Dingirsu. So if you can assemble that, it's amazing. But you also have Thousand Eyes Restrict going second to disrupt your opponent during their turn, because it's essentially mind control in the form of a monster. Very powerful card. I would not cut that at all. 3 copies of Called by the Grave. This is to essentially ensure that we basically can have our combo go through. Also good at disrupting the graveyard for multiple decks like Salamangreat as well as Orcust. And then we had the 1 copy of Babel, and then the last card was 1 copy of Crescendo. My ending board would typically be Dingirsu with 2 materials, a Galatea in the far left zone, and then Crescendo being set. And that's very similar to the Salamangreat board, which is a Sunlight Wolf, maybe something like a Jack Jaguar, or maybe like a Mirage Stallion, and then having the Roar set. Thing is though, Dingirsu's a lot stronger, it's harder to beat over, it protects the Crescendo from stuff like Mystical Space Typhoon, Twin Twister, so on, so it actually makes it so that they can't burn their removal on a card like Crescendo, and then I'd have multiple hand traps in my hand to stop my opponent on their turn, and they could hopefully follow up and kill them on the next. So that's it for the deck. It's going to be a solid 40 cards. Now we're going to go ahead and move on quickly to the extra deck. So starting off, we have the Fusion Monsters, 1 copy of El Shaddoll Winda, 1 copy of Thousand Eyes. This was already explained. No reason to really explain it more. They basically served their purpose and pretty much did exactly what I wanted them to. We have 2 copies of Dingirsu. I don't think you really need more. You are playing a slower, it's more like a more tempo control version of Orcust instead of like a combo based. So you could make the argument to play 3 of this because the games could potentially go a little bit longer, but I didn't find it necessary. 2 is typically all you need. Then we have the Kagari for the copy of Drone, just to go ahead and have that 1 card play. We played 2 copies of Mermaid. This is because we are playing a little bit of a slower variant. We're not playing like a turn 1 break my board version. And the thing is, if copy 1 got stopped by like a hand trap or something, then we could just stop them with our hand traps, make the 2nd copy on the next turn, and then just proceed to kill them. Then following up, we have the other Nightmares, Nightmare Phoenix, Nightmare Cerberus. You pretty much have to play these. I end up playing Unicorn. Unicorn's nice because you can actually make it while you're locked under the Orcust restrictions because you can summon Darks, but also because of the fact that we are playing a bit of a slower build, Unicorn actually proved to be okay, just because we have the ability to go a little back and forth, and we want to make sure we can disrupt our opponent as best we can. Then we played 3 copies of Galatea. This is absolutely mandatory in a build like this. I know some of the more aggressive builds can play 2 and probably get away with it most of the time, but you definitely want 3 in a slower version like this. You never can see this card enough. Like if you have it, you just always feel good. It allows you to just go through with your plays. 1 copy of Longirsu. Longirsu is about average. It's nice for its effect. I really hate that like you can't attack the same turn that you can use its effect. I guess that might be a little bit too good, but again, it definitely served its purpose in removing specific cards, and just setting up the board is nice. And then last but not least, we had the Borosaur Dragon to OTK our opponent. I made this a few times, and honestly, it's there because it's so easy to OTK with this deck if you open the combo to do so. Last but not least, we have the hand traps. 3 copies of Artifact Lancia. This is pretty much a side deck staple, this format, for your Orcust mirror match, at least in my case, and then your Danger Thunder matchup. Pretty much one of the best cards in the side deck. Then you have Droll and Lockbird as well. So the plan was going up against the combo decks, I would go ahead and side both of these in and then side some of the other cards out. So I'd be playing a just absolute clusterfuck of hand traps. So if I didn't draw at least 2, then something was wrong. But then I also have all the 1 card starters, so I can stop the Danger Thunder player, and then I can proceed to kill them on the following turn. Next, we played 3 copies of Dino Wrestler Pankratops. This is again because we are playing a little bit of a slower build, and Pankratops is just incredible against the control matchups like Salamangreat. It's really good against Orcust as well, honestly, just because it's so big. And then against Sky Striker, again, just a very, very powerful card. Allows you to help push for damage and just removes very pesky threats that our opponent might side in, such as Floodgates, different things like that. Very good against Rogue decks as well, which I happen to play a lot of in my Swiss rounds. Then we have 3 copies of Twin Twister. I wasn't playing this in the main deck. I kind of questioned in retrospect if I could have, because there was a lot of players playing Mystic Mine. My older versions of this deck were playing some version of spell and trap removal like Twin Twister, Cosmic Cyclone, what have you, but I kind of just felt like I'll have it in the side deck if I need it. I kind of think maybe I should have, but you know, again, hindsight's always better in 2020, right? Then we have 2 copies of Mind Control. Mind Control is absolutely absurd. I mean, against so many matchups, against Danger Thunder, it forces a negate. Against Orcust, you just steal something, so it's probably going to force a negate. But if not, then you have not only Link material, but possible Dingyusa material as well. Against Salamangreat, you force out their counter trap, and if not, you have a free Link 2 to go into Boral Sword with, which makes that play extremely easy. And against Sky Striker, because I am playing the Kagari, I could potentially, you know, use that, or I could just either just link it off entirely and just force out stuff like Ego Booster. Very, very strong card. I'm very happy that I played it. And then the last card was Imperial Order. I kind of wanted something for going first against Sky Striker, just to kind of like hopefully just auto win that match. And I didn't play any Sky Striker, so it never came up. So I think I would have preferred to be a 3rd Mind Control, but it obviously was there for its reason. So guys, that's going to go ahead and wrap up this deck profile. I hope it brought you guys some very good insight, even though my record wasn't the best. I ended up going 2-3 drop after round 5, but it was a very interesting theoretical concept, and I had a lot of fun playing it. It kind of caters to the way I like to play decks, which are more control style rather than combo, and it was a lot of fun regardless. So guys, thank you so much for watching the video. Be sure to like the video as always, subscribe to the channel for more amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content, and if you found this video helpful, consider supporting me on Patreon or becoming a YouTube channel member, because just by showing your support in any way that you can, you're investing in my ability to continue bringing you amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content. So thanks so much again, and we'll see you next time.